It's time for another look at the month ahead, with the autumn equinox just having passed here in South Africa and ready for a whole new astrological year, as astrologically that's actually where we measure the beginning of the year from. And it is quite an important time. It's also where we're able to see trends and patterns that affect us over the next many months, globally and politically. So whenever there's one of these big equinoxes, the astrology of the equinox is something that we would expect to be relevant for quite some time. And looking at this particular equinox, it is looking a little bit wild, to put actually an astrological term onto it. It does look at this time that the forces are very unstable. We should expect a lot of changes in the world, especially in the next 3 months, but really over the course of the rest of the year. And by those changes, I mean large-scale political changes. Those could include heads of government, some presidents are all changing, and could even include conflict. We know that there are major conflicts in the world, especially, for example, in Syria. So I'm not necessarily saying that there's anything new going on there, but when we look at the situation to do with war and conflict in the world in this particular chart for this time ahead of us, it does look like anything can happen. Doesn't look safe. It's really just considered unstable and explosive. Basically boils down to, with regards to all the conflicts, we're going to see a lot worse before we really get to see much better. When it comes to those presidents, let's not forget the very mundane meaning of that is that there are many elections happening in Europe and elsewhere in the world in these next few months, and that's certainly a major part of that. But I know that you're busy thinking about what's happening here in South Africa and what's happening in the USA. Well, here in South Africa, we're not expecting any presidential change from this chart. Certainly, the charts are looking somewhat better for President Zuma over the course of the next month. In fact, April could even be said to be quite a good month for him. He still remains somewhat behind the scenes, but he is benefiting from changes happening elsewhere around him. And of course, we might be thinking of Helen Zille when it comes to that. Helen Zille, after her recent controversial tweet about colonialism, faces a disciplinary hearing in her party as we stand at the moment. Again, I face the same problem when looking at Helen Zille's chart, in that I don't know her birth time, and that would make it very much easier for me to tell whether she faces expulsion, or if she retires, or something like that, if she's going to be right outside of the political situation. And I do have to say that without that, I can't say very much about it. But what I can say is that looking at South Africa's own charts for the month ahead, we can see big changes to do with female politicians. That is late April and also late May, which I'll talk a bit again about next month. So it does look like there is some kind of a crunch, probably for Helen Zille, towards later on in April. But we know that Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma is also an important figure in the South African astrological charts at the moment, and we might see further developments there, or with Batabile Dlamini, the Minister of Social Development, who has been facing increasing calls for her resignation or expulsion from a ministry over the last few weeks. So it does look like when it comes to women in South African politics, there's lots of excitement to watch out for in April, and we can expect 2 or 3 major changes. So still not looking very good for Mrs. Zille, and probably for Dlamini as well. In terms of international politics, it's going to be a little while before we see major changes in the Trump presidency, but the beginning of that is beginning to show in the charts again over the course of April. There is a long-term process from March until August that is developing in the United States chart, and it's after August that we should really expect to see major changes in the presidency or to the president, or something that really comes to the surface at that time. So things are still very much boiling under. But remember, as I said, the equinox chart tells us a lot about what's going on over the course of the year and what's ahead. And for the most part, while there are certainly changes in people in power, I'd say that for the next 3 months, they are pretty safe and in a pretty strong position. So right now, change has to come from the grassroots. So let's talk a little bit more about our own month ahead over the course of April. So, starting with the cardinal signs, that's Aries, Cancer, Libra, and Capricorn. This looks like a month where it's lots of practical details that need to be attended to. That means dealing with some nitty-gritties that you might have preferred to avoid, and dealing with some that actually might sort some things out once and for all and make you feel a lot more satisfied. For Aries, it's not such a bad deal. Aries looks like your social world is very important, especially the world of your friends. There will be some changes in your friendship group. Some people will suddenly disappear, and some people might disappear because of conflict. Yes, it does look like you're going to have to watch out for a few disagreements and arguments, perhaps leading to changes in friendship. And quite frankly, this being the beginning of your year 2 with your birthday right here, this is a great time to kind of be cleaning out that friendship closet and allowing space for new people to start entering your life. But right now, it's not so good for you to make it's not so easy for you to make a good impression. So you'll need to contain yourself and bring your wild side down a little bit. In astrological terms, Aries is the wild sign this month, and of course that's you. So if you're going to be spending time alone and pursuing your own ideals, that's going to be great. Don't hold yourself back and go wild. When it comes to Cancerians, well, Cancerians have money matters on their minds. Who doesn't? And it does look like there's some old business to attend to. There could even be debts that have come up that might be rather unexpected, or kind of you've conveniently forgotten about them, and you do need to catch up on all that old stuff. There could be other things that are not really about money that are also coming to kind of haunt you from the past and need some resolution. And then there are those that don't resolve so easily. This looks like a month of nostalgia and longing for some of you. So remember, Cancerians, your loved ones, the people around you are the most important things to give you your sense of security and support. Draw on those, draw on old friends and old connections. It's true, when it comes to some of those old friends and old connections, you might actually feel that you've been hurt or even betrayed, and you want to draw the line somewhere. And when we look at the cycles in the chart, there's a suggestion to just wait a little bit. You're at a low, your reactions are stronger than they usually are, stronger than they need to be, and it might be worth just giving it a little bit of time before you make any changes in any of your relationships. The good news is that with sorting out all of this financial stuff, after a month you'll find that financially you're in a better situation than you were before. That's probably going to put you into a much more optimistic frame, a positive frame, and that's also going to help your personal relationships, both friendships, lovers, and whatever's happening at home. So take it easy through the month, and actually you will get right to the top of it. When it comes to Librans this month, Librans have got lots of gains to look forward to. The practical details that you have to worry about are really ensuring that you're using your own skills and abilities to their proper potential. It sounds a little bit too easy. It isn't that easy. You really need to ask yourself, could it be that if anything's not working out or not working out the way that I expect it to, it's because I'm not really giving it my fullest, because this is a month about you in the nicest possible way. You have a lot to give right now. Unfortunately, you're not really monitoring yourself well enough. It's kind of a happy-go-lucky, or you're making assumptions. Some of you are feeling a little bit swamped by what's happening in your personal life, and that's making you not concentrate so fully on your professional life, which, as I've said, is really depending on you using your own skills and talents. So Librans, it might actually be a time just to get a little bit more selfish in the whole process. Tell the friends and loved ones, I need to focus on my stuff. It's all about me right now, and I'll be getting back to you, because you have great gains to make from those talents. And quite frankly, your relationship's looking in quite a healthy state at the moment. If you're saying, what relationship are you talking about? I don't have one. Well then, keep watching around that corner, because it looks like for all Librans, love is on the increase. Hopefully that means something solid, permanent, or whatever. But hey, a little bit of love and fun and pleasure coming your way, who's going to refuse? So enjoy that. It's the Capricorns, as ever, who've got the harder load to carry in the world of the cardinal signs, and that means the practical details that you have to sort out this month are also to do with friends and people who are no longer serving the benefit of the relationship that you have with them. It basically looks like you've been holding on to something for too long. It's probably some kind of relationship. It doesn't have to be a personal one. It could just be someone that you, out of loyalty or habit or familiarity, you rely on or allow them to provide something that you need. And now's the time really to draw the line. Like your opposite sign, Cancer, people from the past, nostalgia and longing and yearning are all troubling your chart as well. And you Capricorns might actually be feeling a little melancholy, sadness, and even a little bit of loneliness. This is really a time to put yourself out there, to make the effort. The charts show this is an excellent time to make new friends with some effort. And also, again, for single Capricorns, this could even be a time to make new connections that could later develop into something much more significant. So loneliness can be cured by you. Don't spend all that time alone, but use that opportunity to ask yourself, there's certain people in my life that I know that I don't really benefit from that relationship anymore, and maybe they're benefiting from the relationship with you, or they're not benefiting either. Time to call it quits, wrap up, put the past behind you in many ways, and then Capricorns, you'll have a lot to look forward to in the months ahead. The fixed signs, that's Taurus, Leo, Scorpio and Aquarius. This is your chance to spend a little time behind the scenes. It's been quite an active year for you so far, especially last month, and now's the time to kind of regroup and pull yourself back together in some kind of way. It does mean that it'll look like some of your goals are just not happening and some things are not getting underway. That's going to take another month or two before it really happens. So while you are your own best company at the moment, starting with Taurus, this is really the time for your own best company. This is a great opportunity to get on with some of your own stuff. There may be professional things you have to do. There may be certain obligations that you've got to loved ones, employers, family members, whatever the case may be. But fact remains, this is a great time to really indulge yourself in stuff that you love to do. That could be things to do with your hobbies and talents. It could really just be a way that you like to spend the time, benefit from that in some way, and keeping to your own things behind the scenes will allow you to take it out into the world, because it does look like over the course of the month you'll find opportunities to use some of the talent or what you've developed in this time alone out there in the world. Again, not necessarily for professional gains, but certainly for personal gains. It does look like this is going to lead to opportunities to make new friends and connections in the longer term. Right now, you might find that people are not understanding you, but give it a month and they'll appreciate the time spent alone was really good time for you. Leos also need to look to the relationships around them, kind of to make yourself a little bit better understood. It seems as if the people around you are finding you hard to understand, might be finding you abrasive, or accusing you of pressing their buttons, or accuse you of being selfish. None of those are really something quite new to be accused of as a Leo, but right now it might seem a little bit more hurtful than usual. You might find yourself feeling more sensitive than usual, and of course that's because this month the fixed signs job is to withdraw a little bit, retreat into your own company and your own space, and things will work much better for you. it seems as if what you want and what you need are not quite the same thing at the moment. And that is what's causing you to overreact or not know quite how to react to things. And in the end, feel as if you don't even know what you need or what's best for you at the moment. So time spent on your own will give you a chance to balance that out. Siblings might be important relationships at the moment. Some of you are going to be able to benefit from your relationships with your siblings in the sense of the sorting out that I'm talking about. But quite frankly, it also looks like there's a possibility of some conflict or disagreement with siblings. This is a great time to try and sort that out. Scorpios this month have a lot to do and unfortunately not that much to show for it. But your best option is just to put your head down and go for it. In fact, so much so that there are cautions against overwork and burnout and kind of just doing too much of the stuff that doesn't bring any kind of reward. It might be necessary to tell you this is a month when you need to make sure that you're playing more or spending more time with people around who you feel safe and comfortable, where you don't need to guard yourself in any way or guard the situation in any kind of way. That will give you a break from all the stuff that has to be done. There are lots of chores to be done, and even some of the dirty work that's been waiting to happen that you've been avoiding and ignoring, and this is the time to kind of get it out of the way once and for all. A little bit of like a cleanup before it really happens. For those of you who've been ignoring health matters over the last while, this is a good time to have a checkup. Everything that I'm talking about sounds like a lot of stress on Scorpio, and that could take its toll health-wise. So do yourself a favor, attend to things you've been ignoring, attend to stuff you haven't looked at for quite a while. Try and balance what are my physical needs, what are my strength needs, as opposed to everything that you have to do that is taking so much out of you this month. Don't be anyone's slave. That's not what you want to do. Aquarians would never want to be anyone's slave and just need lots of freedom, and of course you're going to get lots of that this month. Aquarians can expect some changes, and that usually will lead to opportunities. In fact, stretch your eyes and your imagination far and wide. Those Aquarians looking to do something new will find it in the most unlikely places, but all Aquarians will find that right now some of the most important opportunities or input is coming from far away. Look especially to what comes via the internet or via foreigners or far off places, and of course there are opportunities for some of you to actually travel to those far off places. But the past will not stay behind, and you're also one of those signs who needs to deal with some stuff from the past before you can move on. Basically, there's a responsibility that you're carrying around. It's probably a responsibility to a family member, and it's not going away. So hopefully you're accepting that one graciously, but remember to deal with what's important at home before you can stretch yourself far and wide. You might be feeling limited or frustrated. You might be feeling that your own emotional life is suffering because of the input or energy that you have to give to your family life. But this is actually an opportunity to clean up old stuff. Some people might even say to burn old karma. I don't know how true that is, but it certainly sounds like the right kind of goal for whatever exactly the result is of putting old stuff behind you once and for all. Aquarius, now's your chance. When it comes to the mutable signs, Gemini, Virgo, Sagittarius, and Pisces, you're the ones who usually are the more behind the scenes, or really kind of just go it alone kind of signs, and this is not the month to be doing that. Those mutable signs have really got everything going for you this month. Go out and get it, and for most mutable signs, that's going to be leading to the best possible results. Starting with you, Geminis, you are the ones who really can take charge right now. Although Gemini is considered one of the social signs, and you're more inclined to want to ensure that everyone's fine and happy, and that you're doing everything for everyone, mostly because you want to show them that you can and that you have that strong sense of social obligation. Well, it's time to get a little bit more selfish and just go for it in terms of your own goals. Everything in your chart is saying this is the time to put much stuff about relationship and friendship aside and concentrate on what's important to you. It doesn't mean you should ditch or disregard relationships and friendships. It really just means this is a time to get your priorities in order and worry about your own stuff before you try and keep all the people happy all the time, as you are frequently inclined to do. You will find that your charms are at their strength and people are really willing to listen to you, and it could be a good time where you need to be persuasive and take the initiative. But taking the initiative is really what it's all about. You might not normally be considered a sign of leadership, but this is the time to act with leadership or act on your own and just go for it. Anything you want, you can talk them into it right now. So what are you waiting for? Virgos, you the ones who are going to have to stay back a little bit. It looks like over the last couple of months, of the last little while, you've been focused into other matters, and things at home or things at home base are kind of falling apart. So you're going to have to get back to basics. You're going to have to straighten things out, straighten and sort some people out in the process. And that means acting assertively, taking a hard line and calling the shots. Things that you certainly are able to do, even though you often feel a little bit uncomfortable doing that because you're someone who's got a strong need to help and be useful. Well, all of those things are still true when you're sorting out whatever's going on at home base, but you really just need to be the leader. You might find yourself getting into an argument that can rapidly escalate. So bearing in mind that you're supposed to act with leadership at this time, you're going to have to find a way to diffuse that situation while still asserting your needs. Can you hear me? I'm not saying you need to make any compromises. I'm not saying you need to take them into account and do what they say. This is still a month where you're going to have to sort it out, but it's all at home based before any of the real goals can happen. It's just cleaning out what's kind of gone wrong or just gone a little bit wild while you haven't had the time to pay attention. Get back to basics, clean up, clean out, and by the time you're in the middle of the month, you will be rolling again. Sagittarians, you are the mutable sign that needs all that freedom, and that's going to be especially challenged this month as you have people all around you demanding at every level. You feel constrained and limited by those around you, and you're really going to have to find ways to let off steam and maintain calmness before something happens that you'll regret later. True, you've got a lot of responsibilities when it comes to people at this time. You are being very restricted and limited in some way. But the solution is to find yourself some time alone. Find own space and own time just to let off steam. Make that a priority this month, and everything else is going to work very well. There are people from the past shown in the chart that obviously give you a stronger sense of responsibility, but some of those people from the past are also a good way to relax around people who really know you, who you can trust, and you feel comfortable and you feel that you can be yourself, and that also prevents that head of steam from building up. It's a great month because in general terms, Sagittarians, you're making progress and you're fulfilling your goals relatively easily. Everything's going to work out well and you will gain better than you expect to gain when it comes to goals. So be sure that people fit into the same category, that everything is accomplished successfully in terms of all those responsibilities to do with people, but just letting a safety valve happen. Then you've got a great month to look forward to. Pisceans are usually the most shy and retiring of all the mutable signs, although not necessarily shy, but quite happy to get on with their own business quietly in the background. And that's not really what you want to do this month. Like the other mutable signs, it's a month about initiative and taking things forward for yourself, and that's really got to happen. It really is the time that's all about making your goals happen. If you're self-employed, this is really the best possible time for you. But whatever your employment situation is, people are listening to you, your persuasive skills are also working well, and you can easily show others what you want or what the goal really is and what we are trying to achieve. But really, this is all about your own goals. You stand to gain the most at the moment. So if you can find a way to concentrate on those, whether they're professional goals or other goals that you might have, that's where the greatest reward is going to lie. Nevertheless, a lot of the energy in your chart right now is in the professional area. So it's certainly worth putting your energy into that, putting your efforts into that right now. Really make that part of your life the center of what's going on. Kind of get it together. The goals you've been meaning to do, the things you've been meaning to follow up. This is the time for that first push or that final push, whatever it is for you particularly. But this is the push that's going to make all the difference. So Pisceans, push. This is going to work. And see you back here on Rod Suskin's World, YouTube on Friday at noon, or on Cape Town TV Friday at 7:30 p.m. Tell your friends it repeats Sunday at 1:30 p.m. in case they missed the show. And next week we'll take an exciting journey together into the former Transkei, deep into rural Ponderland. So don't miss that show. Join me.